Welcome to the Dance to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how life is a dance. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that mind and body-connected movement is vital to healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I created Dance to Heal Wellness featuring the Spotlight Confidence Formula and also authored the best-selling award-winning book, Outside In Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new ways to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now.
You're passing down to your kids. Like, you need to break the mold.
You have to. You have to. And what we've actually come to a realization with myself, my husband, and our fraternal twins, because they're in their late 20s. And like we're literally doing generations of trauma healing through the four of us, our two
Oh,
generations. Where, there's a lot of so in woo science, y'all, right? It's like in quantum healing, they talk about when you heal in this present generation, you heal the generations before. Now, I
yeah.
came from Taiwan, which was occupied brutally by Japan a number of years
hmm
ago when my grandparents were children. We're healing all those generations by setting
Yeah.
boundaries now and being really aware of what serves us and what our real purpose is. And
hmm
so it's like sometimes the work is harder for you because you're healing generations before you. It's not that
Yeah.
simple a thing. It's not 1 30-second, I'm going to do this breath work and you're great afterwards. No, folks, like it's hundreds of years of healing you're doing in your generation.
And not just that, depending on what you believe in, it could be past life trauma too that you could
That
be
too.
bringing in,
Yeah.
which, depending on, where you fall and if you believe in that or not, but that's a thing too. And it's so important. I think that's amazing that you're doing that with your kids because my brother and I talk about this all the time. I don't have kids, but my brother, I've got my niece and nephew, and we talk about all the time. Like, we are like breaking the mold with like, we are not passing this down to the next generation. It's,
Well, don't
it's,
well, don't worry. They're gonna get their own thing that they opted into before they were born to handle. Like you're like, we're not
yeah.
adding to your bucket.
Exactly. And you've already, you've been through enough before you even came into the world. But it's
Exactly.
it's silly, we talk about, but it's so true. And, everybody will nobody wants to pass their trauma down to others, but it's hard not to when you don't deal with it. It affects every single thing in your life. Like, I think about jobs that I had. I had this horrible, horrible boss. I've had a couple horrible bosses in my day, and it affects everything. You can't just float around. And I tell people, I'm like, I suppressed it for decades. Please do the opposite. Learn from me on what not to do. Don't wait until, because 2020 is when the pandemic hit, is when I started. That's when I started meditating. And that's when and to be honest with you, I thought I was fine.
Of course.
I
We all
thought
thought,
I was just living
Tracy,
through
look, we're
life. I was
you're like,
engaged. I was like, okay. And then I start meditating and I start getting this download of information. And I'm like, holy shit, I am a freaking hot mess. I had no clue.
I love you for saying that. I really love you for saying that. I mean, this Dance to Heal podcast pivoted in a new direction this year because it's basically just hoping people understand. We understand that you may not see it yet, my audience members, we're all a hot mess, okay? Like
Yep.
we're there with you and we're just sharing some tools that we've come up in our lives that we
hmm
know may be helpful for some of you. Okay?
Well,
Because that's the whole point of this. Why you even, subscribe to my podcast is because people like Tracy are going to come and give you an idea that on the outside, I mean, you go to a website, she looks like a rock star, right? And yet she's telling you, "Oh, I started getting downloads when I got really, really still."
yeah. And things got quiet. And guess what? I ended my engagement. I moved. I completely like just really did the work on myself. And I realized like that person I was engaged with, that wasn't the right person for me. We weren't aligned. And it's funny because I do keynotes now and I talk about how, and it can sound very harsh, but I mean it in a loving way, but nobody's coming to save you. No one. And I talk about this in my keynotes, and I'm like, but one thing you need to understand, like, you you're a hot mess, like, own it. That's your superpower. Being a hot mess is your superpower. That is how you are going to evolve. And when I realized like what a mess I was like, holy shit, because I never really had dealt with the accident. I didn't realize I had been living 40 years with survivor's guilt. I didn't realize, like, obviously I hadn't dealt with the assault at all. There was so much, and I'm like, I'm a hot mess. And then I just had this revelation. I'm like, yeah, but that's good because knowing that I was such a mess, like that's where I grow and I learn from. And so as I got farther along in my healing journey, it kind of became a game then. I was like, oh my gosh, how much deeper can I get now? What else can I learn about myself? And it gets to be and it's I want people to understand like it really is your healing journey is something to look forward to because as scary as it is, because we all lead with fear. And I'm not saying that every day is perfect. I've had many, many setbacks in my journey, but I want you to look forward to it because it gives you so much strength and so much wisdom. And people are like, "Well, you're way past your healing journey. You're fine now." And I'm like, "Actually, no, I'm not. I don't ever want to be completely healed because that means I've stopped growing and I've stopped becoming better and I've stopped learning." And so I want people to be like excited about it because as much as scary as the thought is to start, you've already been through the worst you're going to go through. You've already made it past that. Celebrate that. And this part, is it going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy. But the easy things in life isn't what make you great.
Yeah. And I always tell my audience this, Tracy, and I'm really glad the way you brought this up. It brings it right to this. You have your own unique way of healing. You're
Mm-hmm.
on this episode right now because it's being brought to your attention. You need to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
What worked for Tracy may work for you, and it may not. What
Right.
worked for me through dancing and then doing neurolinguistic programming,
Yeah.
that worked for me. And some of you, it may work for you, and some of you, it may not. The goal, though, is to be so intuitively listening to your downloads. What should you be seeking out? What should you be avoiding? What is not for you right now? Please pay attention to that. That's not fear. When you're truly being warned away from something, pay attention to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I've I grew up my whole life not being allowed to act on my fear.
Yeah.
Like we had to just deal with it because most children were in powerless when we were kids. We were in powerless situations. We very few parents have a download on what you need when you're a baby and you can't talk. Sorry, it's just
Right.
like
Exactly.
no baby came with instructions like an IKEA furniture. It was always through mistakes to figure it out.
Yeah.
But we're very highly attuned beings when we're babies.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're going through years of the parents not getting the downloads because they're not themselves tuned in, then
Yeah.
we have to somehow make sense of our world. So you could have
Mm-hmm.
had a magnificent trauma-free childhood and still had moments where you were very powerless.
Yeah.
And what stories did you make up that you're still living today? We're
Mm-hmm.
asking you just look at that, right? So you do Tracy's audit at rockstars.com
Trauma.
and you can
Trauma rock stars.
traumarockstars.com.
Yeah.
And also, you come to my monthly masterclass at movetobloom.com. You have two
Yeah.
options for you to start learning ways to get in tune with yourself. Tracy, I want to ask you something. What were some signs that you needed to address that you didn't realize until after you got the download when you were meditating? But what were some downloads you were getting before that you started to understand? Oh, you started some examples about that, but give some, if you don't mind talking a little bit more about what they were, so some people can recognize some of those patterns in their lives, possibly.
Yeah, I didn't even know I had all this work to do until I started meditating. And I kind of just honed into the meditation. It's difficult. They call it a practice for a reason. It's challenging meditating. But I really went all in and I found some guided meditations on YouTube with some like practitioners that really resonated with me that helped guide me. And I realized like when I first got introduced to my higher power, it changed. I was like, oh my gosh, it changed my life. And I realized the survivor's guilt was a big one. I didn't realize that I had been carrying that all these years. That was big. And look, and the like the whole self-esteem thing and not really, I remember I had a friend for years. She used to always say to me, you need to know your worth. You need to know your worth. I was like, oh, okay. And I knew she meant well. She loved me. She meant that in a good way. But I was just like, ah, whatever. I never really knew what that meant until I started meditating. And when I was introduced to my higher self, I was like, oh, that's what she meant about my worth because I can be that person. I can be that badass. I can be the opposite of everything I felt about myself. Um, and a lot of that stemmed from my accident because I was burned so badly. I was burned on my face. I was, burned all over. And a lot of that self-esteem came from there, but it comes from within. And so that was the biggest thing. Like I didn't realize how insecure I was, how not only did I not have the self-esteem and I didn't know my worth, but I didn't even know who the hell I was as a human being. I mean, what's that saying? Like the two most important days of your life is when you're born and when you figure out why, and I had no clue. I was just and I wasn't living, I wouldn't say I was living a shallow life by any means, but I just really didn't have that self-worth and that value of myself because you have to be like if you want this amazing love in your life, the only person that you're going to get it from is yourself.
Oh, good,
And
good. Yes.
so I didn't know that. I didn't have the tools to learn that. So meditation was able to bring that out in me and that negative self-talk that I would have for years and I would get into a shell and I for years I put off this facade. Everything was hunky dory, everything was great. And I always say that saying just because I carry it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy. And I finally realized like I was really faking it through life. I wasn't being my authentic self. And those are like some very serious things that I learned. And it was very, I'm going to get emotional talking about it. Like when I first was introduced to my higher self through meditation, it was very, very emotional um, for me because it's like meeting yourself for the first time, really. And it was such an amazing experience. And since then, I've gone through a hypnosis session as well. It was magic. It was amazing as well. But I think we always wonder like how we're looked at, how people perceive us, how like what kind of impact we're having in the universe as we're out and about, and you get to see that through meditation. And it's been a gift.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, I'm a breast cancer survivor, and I absolutely understand the
Oh,
survivor guilt part, girl. I've lost so many other dancers from the community that
yeah,
they just never had a chance. And I always like I wrote about it in my book about just feeling like why are these high achievers? Why were they taken, right? And then
I
not
know.
right and not understanding that
Yeah.
because that's what they opted for before they were born. That's got nothing to do with me. Like I have to look at my breast cancer journey when I got it and then recovered from it, that was just prepping me for the job to come, right? And it was
Mhm.
also I didn't pay attention until my daughter went into some pretty severe mental distress, but it really taught me how important it was to be connected with my body. And when you were talking about your higher self, for me, it's one of the quickest ways I can connect to my higher self. And when I say higher self, I'm not talking about Jenny. I'm talking about like connection with like God or nature or
Yeah.
source. It's the quickest way for me to connect. And every
How he
other way,
sees you.
yes,
Yeah.
how we're seen actually by I have people who refer to God as she, by them.
Yeah.
Like by them who see our high, who know our higher selves.
Yes.
And I think like I went through this breakthrough thing in Seattle in March. And I was reminded that what's most important is your relationship to your higher self, to God, to nature. That's the
Yes.
most important thing. And I lived my whole life because I didn't realize I was so neglected as a baby. My parents loved
Ru-
me, but they just didn't know what to do with me, right? They were the first in Taiwan, they were the first of both of their family sides to not be arranged marriages. So this is,
Oh,
1960s in Taiwan
wow.
first. Like they met in Taipei, right? And so they came from such poverty. We're talking about Shrek country. They both did not have running water, no electricity.
Yeah.
There was like, they had dirt floor homes that they grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
right? So from that perspective, they just wanted me to get a good education. They could not understand. What do you mean? You had food and electricity and plumbing.
You should be
We had it.
fine.
How did we neglect you? Well, you left me with a babysitter that didn't change my diaper like all day until you came home for like months until you happened to come home early one day.
Yeah.
Who knows what other abuse she did from to me? Like, but that's a
Right.
young baby from 1 month old to a year and a half, right? Like that kind of stuff. And it feeds into when you're talking about self-esteem and knowing your worth. I learned to teach everybody else that, but I did not know. Like I coached college students at Pace University. I was a head dance coach for them when my kids were doing rhythmic gymnastics for Junior Olympics. They all learned
Mm,
their self-worth. I was good at teaching it because I'm an occupational therapist by trade. So I taught everybody else that. I still never learned my own self-worth. So
yeah.
you audience, you could be really good at showing everybody else, but do you really know your own self-worth?
Right. And it's funny when the very first encounter I had with my higher self, I was like, who the hell is that? Like she's like this magical, beautiful being, right? That was coming in through the message that was coming in. I'm like, who is that? It took me a couple sessions before I realized like that's me. Like it didn't even register. Like it literally took a couple. I'm like, who is that? Like I want to get to know her. Well, that's me, and that's how. And it was so enlightening, And it's so funny how you said that. Like you taught this, and you still didn't even know, your own. And
Right.
that's
We
part of the healing journey, though. That's or that to have
exactly.
that realization.
Yes. And define the you before you were assigned these roles, right? You were assigned at 12
Yeah,
survivor. Like you
yeah.
were going to be the survivor, right?
I
And
know. I'm like, thanks,
thanks so much. Like I just want to have a
thanks,
normal childhood.
appreciate it,
And for
right?
me, I was assigned like the second mother when my brother was born at 18. Like I was 18 months old. I had no purpose. They were very disappointed I was a girl. So like my birth wasn't even recognized the first month.
Oh,
Right? So we
okay.
had child like I had that background. I didn't have a traumatic event at 12. I had it like
But that's a
earlier.
lot.
It's a lot. And then
Yeah,
we immigrated to the States and didn't speak a lick of English and threw me into first grade. I was like the
yeah.
smallest one. So like and right, it still was an important experience. It's what my soul opted for before I was born. Like I don't know now. I know now. The
Hmm.
key though is for me, I I don't know if you see you how we see you, Tracy.
Right,
Because you're like, oh, I
right.
met this higher self. I'm like, oh God, are you kidding me? You're radiant. And I know that you don't see that, but we see that. Like you see yourself when you do your meditation and you see your higher self. Just
Yeah,
know you're already at this part of healing where we see your radiance already. Like you're
right.
already embodying that. Like we made a joke earlier in this interview about how like we don't look our age. We literally don't look our age because we've been healing.
Well, and that's the thing. Like somebody said to me recently, like, you're not aging at all. And I'm like, well, I was, but I think now, and you mentioned having breast cancer. I don't know, like suppressing all of this crap for decades. How did I not get sick? Like, how did I not get an autoimmune disease or, get I don't, because people, you need to take this seriously. Like,
Yeah.
people are getting sick from their suppressed trauma, like physically, like diseases.
Yeah,
So,
it's dis-ease. Like,
yes, it's dis-ease.
yeah, it's
And
cumulative too. Like you think you're
yes,
young and healthy and you're going to be good. I'm so sorry, but just has an elder in training, has our levels go down, hormones, our immune
yeah,
system is getting less effective. So the
yes,
the things you're putting up with now are being accumulated into beating down your immune system.
right, right,
It's really
right.
important to understand that. I mean, food
It
quality's
is.
changed since we were children. So now you have to be really careful what you're
Hmm.
intaking into your body and how much of it, what quality, how often,
The
even
quality
our
of the
meat,
food
the
you're
quality.
eating.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I remember being really resentful when they were saying, you need to be eating enough fiber. I'm like, that's an old person's problem. No, it's not. It's a midlife
no,
person's problem. So you need to be having your fiber. I had to eat the gummies, the Grunz gummies.
yeah.
I do the sugar-free ones because I can't do the sugar.
Yeah, I put fiber. I put a scoop of fiber in my protein shake every single morning. Like, pay attention to your poop, you guys.
Seriously,
Like,
nothing sacred.
seriously.
Please.
Because if you have GI problems, it's probably because you haven't dealt with your trauma.
Yes, that's correlated, by the way, because they've now
Yeah,
discovered the same cells that exist in your brain are in your heart and your gut, and they have a very
yeah,
complicated relationship we're not consciously aware of. And if
right.
something's already wrong, is what we're trying to tell you. Like if you're not
Yes.
going to the bathroom once a day, and people, I'm so glad you went there with me because this is all correlated. The healing means
It's
that you need to
so,
be regular. You need to be going pee. Like it shouldn't be too
yes.
dark. Like you need to be sleeping 7 hours minimum a night.
Yeah.
Even if it's like you get up and pee and then go back and sleep, you've got to have the lack of sleep is one of the they're now linking it to diseases when you don't sleep a certain number of hours and it's
Yeah.
not healthy. Like we didn't even realize until like 3 years ago that I had sleep apnea. I wasn't snoring. We finally
But
got
you,
my husband's sleep apnea because he was snoring. But then he
hmm
realized I was lightly snoring occasionally. And then we did one of those
hmm
online things where they send you a sensor on your finger. I had worse sleep apnea than my husband. The O2 ring was tracking that my heart rate was going up to the 90s at night. Well, I was sleeping.
Wow.
That's not healthy for your heart, folks. You need to be in the
No.
50s and 60s when you're sleeping.
And you have to take this seriously because, like, when I think back, 2020 is when my journey really started.
Yep.
It didn't really kick, like, I didn't really kick it up a notch until a couple of years ago, but the weight has fallen off. Like, I've honestly lost almost, over 40 pounds. And it's, of course I work out and I try and eat healthy and stuff, but I mean, I'm going, as soon as we hang up, Jenny, I'm going to get an ice cream.
Yep.
Like I just, but you carry it, like it feels so heavy because you are like, and it affects everything. Like if anybody I know, like they've got GI problems, I'm like, it's probably from suppressed trauma. Like it might
Bingo.
not be the only reason, but that has a lot to do with it. And if you're having trouble losing weight, if you can't sleep, and you know, there's so many factors. It's so important. And you not change everything at once, but it'll really affect your life. It'll change your life.
Absolutely. Small pivots. I've said this before in my solo, when I do solo interview, like sessions
Yeah.
on this podcast, small pivots. So we're gonna have to say goodbye to Tracy today because this is already a two-parter interview so far because we've gone over.
Oh,
My audience loves when I keep them to short snippets and then we tease them and bring you like part A, part B of this interview. So you're gonna have to come back because I like this real talk stuff with you, Tracy.
I love
Remember,
it.
audience. Yes, remember, audience. Go to traumarockstars with an S.com and then go to movetobloom.com for your monthly class. Make sure you do the life audit quiz because we really want you to know your worth. We'll see you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Dance to Heal podcast with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of inspiring triumph and learn more ways that you can heal yourself. To work with me and continue your journey, visit danceandheal.com. Are you ready to move?